I need you to think about your day, your average day. How many hours do you think you spend surrounded by screens? Scrolling, swiping, streaming, listening, typing. Now, here's the real question. If media shapes what we consume, could they also be shaping us? Now, that's the big idea behind media ecology theory. The study of how communication technologies don't just deliver messages, they actually transform our environments and our minds. Welcome back to Communication Campus. I'm your host, Dr. Malynnda Stewart, and in today's episode, we are exploring media ecology theory, a framework popularized by Marshall McLuhan and Neil Postman. Now, this helps us understand how media, from writing to television to even smartphones, shape human thought, culture, and even our social lives. So when musical groups like Flowbots say that there's a war going on for your mind, there really truly is. And it's all stemming from the ways that media is creating an environment and influencing what we think. Now, the term media ecology compares media to ecosystems. Well, the term media ecology compares media to ecosystems, interconnected environments that evolve and affect everything within them. Now, McLuhan describes media as extensions of man, tools that extend our senses and abilities. So think about how the wheel extends the foot, a book extends the eye, and a computer extends our brain. In other words, when technology changes, we change as well. Not just in how we communicate, but also in how we think, what we value, even how we organize society. And you're probably, hopefully, thinking, wow, what changes are we impacted by in terms of AI? And that's really what the whole AI conversation is really getting at. How dramatically and vastly our media ecosystem is being impacted and the speed of which we're being impacted because of these advancements in AI. So, some other examples that we need to take into consideration and really focus in on this idea that the medium is the message. And that means that the form of media matters more than the content it carries. The way that we communicate affects society more than the specific messages that we share. Some other examples that we need to consider include, television. Television created a world of images and emotions. It even changed how politics and news are being consumed. The internet and smartphones promote immediacy, multitasking, and constant connectivity, reshaping our attention span and our relationships. Now, in media ecology, each new medium doesn't replace the old. It just reorganizes it and the environment that is situated around it. Now, according to the theory, there are what are known as 5 epochs, and these are long periods of time that are marked by distinctive features. So for us, we can think about the first one being the tribal age. And this is where the oral tradition, communication was immediate, it was communal, and it was auditory. So think all the way back to times where people would sit together and tell very long stories to each other. That was their form of entertainment. The whole idea of getting up on your soapbox was because people would literally stand out on the corner on their soapbox and shout out to the world the ideas that they had. That's how mass communication worked during the tribal age. Then we have the literate age, where we have writing introducing linear thinking and logic and individualism. It also gave us a little bit of a longer shelf life for the ideas that were being shared because we could literally carry it along with us and share it with someone else. Then we have the print age. So now we have the printing press, which is going to amplify literacy. It's going to create standardization and nationalism. Because now I can not just handwrite everything, but I can print it, and I can print it to the masses, and I can send it to people. Then we have the electronic age. Radio and television restored our senses of connectedness, but it often cost us a level of depth because it was so fast moving. And now here we are in the digital age, where everything in our communication is characterized by speed and interactivity and information overload. You see, each shift changes how we see truth, time, space, and most importantly, in my opinion, our relationships. How we connect with people has evolved and has changed because of the different types of mediums and communication that we have used. Now, Neil Postman had some very strong opinions about this media ecology and what was happening. And he had a much more critical view. In his book, Amusing Ourselves to Death, which was published in 1985, Postman argued that television and later digital media turned public discourse into entertainment. And he felt that serious issues were being simplified for amusement, blurring the line between information and performance. And I want you to really think about that for a second, because I think Postman had some really strong arguments here. I've read a few of his pieces. Not gonna lie, I often agree with Postman and some of the things he says about democracy and about the world and the importance of community. And I, again, here agree with him quite a bit because we do see this simplification, this amusement, and really this blurring between information and performance and the ways that people speak, including our politicians, in and on media. Now, today, that critique really truly feels more relevant than ever. And again, as I said, the politics on social media and the constant battle for attention. We're always fighting with the algorithms. We're always fighting with the next newish trend. And if you see where I'm going with this, it's constantly evolving and changing how we get our messages out. Now, media ecology asks us to really pause and reflect. How do our tools shape our relationships, our learning, even our sense of self? It's not about rejecting technology. This is about understanding it. When we see media as an actual environment, we can make more mindful choices about how we're engaging with them. Again, I want to come back to this idea of AI because I don't think AI is the enemy. I think AI is a fantastic tool, but it has to be used correctly. That environment is so ripe and rich for potential, but it could be very easily polluted and destroyed and misused and abused, just like any of the other media tools that we've experienced in our time. I might show my age, but I do remember the times when the teachers refused to let us use calculators when we were learning math. And I vividly remember hearing the cliche phrase, well, it's not like one day you're going to have a computer or a calculator in your pocket all the time. Yeah, we do. Y- y- yeah, we do. So, this idea of evolving with technology just becomes so important to think about, not just the piece of technology, but the larger context. Okay, I could go on and on about this, but I will refrain. So, to sum this all up, media ecology studies how communication technologies shape perception and culture. This medium often measures far more than the messages that are being presented. And by becoming aware of our media environments, we can reclaim control over how they influence us. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Communication Campus. I'm your host, Dr. Malynnda Stewart. And in our next session, we're going to continue to explore how media is shaping us and helping us through technology, identity, and society, as we are really exploring these interconnections in the digital age. Until then, I want you to remember that we don't just use media, media also uses us. So let's make sure that we are pausing, reflecting, being critical, and above all else, we keep communicating. See you next time.